Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's your hosts, G and Duran. Duran, how you doing today?
Good. I'm excited for this episode. Another NFC East team. This is actually our second Eagles fan. Shout out to Kelly. She had a great episode, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, you gotta love those. Gotta love the bleeding green out there, huh? Let's start it off right. Today I'm just drinking some Parliament Smosaic out here in Roanoke Park, California.
Nice. I got some Death and Taxes today. It's a strong one, and there's three things you can count on: death, taxes, and a new NFC East division winner every year. So
oh yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, well, you know what, our guy is patiently waiting. Let me just go ahead and clear my throat. This is a long one for me. He's a senior NFL draft writer at Network Brawl, at Draft Brawl. Let's see here. And he's a writer for the Ramblin' Fan. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. And you can also find him at John Vogel at johnvogel.football. Without further ado, John Vogel, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. I appreciate you guys inviting me. It's going to be fun.
Of course, man.
I see you cover a lot about the draft. I already, off air, I shot you some DMs about some players that I do like, because I saw on your profile as well, not only, yeah, you're a girl dad. I think that's awesome. That's amazing. My older brother, he's a girl dad as well. And then I saw that you also said, I love physical corners. And my cousin right here, Duran, he also loves physical corners. And I asked about Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, JC Horn. And, you had some interesting things to say about them. So I was just kind of curious, did you get a chance to go to the Senior Bowl?
So not this year. I went last. So I'm in the National Guard. We're fixing to deploy in March, that we're going to be going to a foreign country, which is something that you do typically every 5, 6, 7 years if you're in the Guard. It's just, when they need somebody to go, they need somebody to go, and you guys are there.
Hey man, thank you for your service, brother. Cheers.
Appreciate it.
So we're getting ready to deploy, and they had me go on orders pretty much all through January. I was out for a couple weeks in December, and then 3 weeks in January, getting ready. So I couldn't leave that to go to the Senior Bowl or to, the College Gridiron Showcase, which, the Network Brawl that we sponsored this year. And they had a great event down there. I couldn't do any of those this year because I'm on orders getting ready to do this. But I went last year. It's a lot of fun. It's like football central. Mobile, Alabama's like small town New Orleans, if that makes sense. It's got like that same feel, that same vibe about it. And it's so fun just because you're walking down the street and, it's football week. Everybody in football's there. Charles Davis walks past you down the sidewalk and you're like, oh, that's Charles Davis. And then next thing you know, here comes Kirk Herbstreit with all his kids. Got like 5 of them. I almost don't recognize him when he's got all these kids with him. It's a totally different atmosphere, and it's so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just kind of curious about that because, that's something that we tried to go to this year, but, our work orders didn't really let us do it. So that's on our bucket list for sure, to go to a Senior Bowl, because it sounds so much fun. Or that, or a combine. I mean, I don't care how boring it is. I mean, I've always wanted to go to one.
Senior Bowl.
Combine yet, but I know people that have gone. It's just as fun as the Senior Bowl, because it's all, once you get out there, it's all about network.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Super Bowl at all?
Believe it or not, yes. I actually bet on the Buccaneers. I picked the Buccaneers to win, so I got pretty good odds early in the week before the line kind of changed a little bit, and I made some good money. I got a couple. They jumped on because Tennessee just allowed sports betting back in November, I think, is when it went legal, and so I've been all over that since that started, and done okay. I mean, some weeks it's better than others.
Yeah,
but no. So FanDuel was doing 200 if you did if you got 55 to 1 odds if you like deposited $25 on a bet. So I was like, guys, jump on this, deposit this, get these 55, put it on the Buccaneers. So they were walking home with like, $280 and just cashing out. Oh, dude, Vogel, thank you. And I'm like, hey, listen, when we get over there and I need something, you're buying me dinner.
There you go.
At least a beer.
At least a beer, right? Duran, you got anything else before we get into it or what?
No, I'm ready to dive in.
All right, so let's dive in. We brought you in because this is a podcast for the fans, by us fans. So we want to know why, you're a Philly fan for sure. So first things first, how did it all start? How did you get, Philly? How did you start bleeding Philly green?
So I was born in Northern Virginia, about 70 miles from DC, little town called Front Royal, and everybody there was Redskin fans, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they were. And so this is, I don't know, 2003, 2004. I was 6 or 7. All my friends started getting into it. And I kind of followed along because everybody was talking about it, right? So like when everybody starts talking about something, you're like, well, I'm not going to be the guy who's left out. And my mom comes from New Jersey, which is, southern, about 45 minutes to an hour away from Philly. So they're all Philly fans.
Okay.
And as soon as I found out that I was wanting to watch football and I was getting into it and stuff, they started sending me all this Eagles gear. And everybody else was Redskin fans. I'm not the type of person that generally goes with the flow. Never have been. And so I was like, I'm I'm going to be an Eagles fan. I like the blue. I like the green better than I like the red.
There you go.
And that's really where it started, was my family sending me Donovan McNabb jerseys and Brent Selleck jerseys and, pretty much anybody that they could get their hands on.
It's a good
awesome,
one.
Dude.
Good story. So is your dad a fan of someone? Are you the first generation of Eagles fan? Or I know you got a couple other family members.
No, so my pretty much all of my family on my mom's side. My mom's a Redskins fan. Well, Washington fan.
Mm-hmm.
I keep saying Redskins because like that's what they were for so long.
Yep.
Still trying to get used to that. They're Washington fans. My mom is, my dad is, but my mom's family is all, Eagle fans. So my aunts, my cousins, everybody watches the Eagles. Everybody roots for the Eagles on Sunday. Like that's kind of the deal. We, like I said, it just kind of was one of those things where everybody around me was doing something and I'm different. It's just how I've always been our life. And they were good back then. They were going to NFC championships every year. Andy Reid was the head coach. We called him Donovan McCrap because we hated him, but that was the golden years of Philly, right? They were winning. They were really good in the regular season up until they got that chance to go, and then they lost, 3 straight, and that was insane. But and then the Super Bowl to Brady in 2004.
Yep.
Yeah. Dan, that's actually one thing that we did bring up for sure in our last interview with the Eagles fan is, you guys are definitely, a heavy, well-traveled, fan base, whether it's cheering on a team or booing somebody, you got the boo birds are always out there for sure. I mean, you just mentioned Donovan McNabb. You guys booed him at the draft, like you guys are heavy. You guys are strong, man. Like I've never been to, a game over there in Philadelphia. That's definitely one, stadium I like to visit because how strong the fan base is for sure.
I think it's kind of that it's the city of brotherly love that almost it's like a city type deal, right? Like Philly's always been kind of gritty, that kind of like we're going to tough it out type city. Even back to the beginning, like the Revolutionary War type stuff. Like it's always just been like that. So that's kind of why Philly fans are they're very temperamental, They're very much set in their roots, and we want it our way because we've been doing it for this long, and that's the city.
There you go.
Do you remember the first game that you went to? Have you got a chance to look at the stadium?
No, I haven't got a chance to get in the stadium.
Okay.
I remember the first game I watched
Mhm.
and played.
Was it at Washington?
No, believe it or not, it was against the Rams, and it was in the Superdome back down there. Well, that's not what it was called, but in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Would have been. I think Marshall Faulk was still there.
Greatest show on turf days.
Yeah, we were pretty worried about him. And the Mark Bold was Kurt Warner still the quarterback? I can't remember.
That's right around that time.
Mark Faulk was there, and Torrey Holt was there, and Isaac Bruce was there, and so I remember all. But and we won somehow.
Yeah.
there you go.
But would have been about 2003, I think.
Yeah, those are strong teams. They had like 6 years, 5 years, over 11 wins each year. So I could definitely see being scared going into that game, but the victory had to have been great.
Yeah, just with that fearsome threesome too as well. I mean, you got Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk. I mean, they're both awesome pass catchers, but I mean, you get Marshall Faulk out there on the loose, he's hard to get down for sure.
Yeah.
So.
And there's still the legend of his pro day where he ran a 3.9440.
I don't know.
I didn't know about that.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's always been the folklore that was his 40. I don't know who came up with that, but he was that fast.
That's like the Dion legend. It keeps getting better and better each year.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what they were doing out there in San Diego, but I mean, I doubt he ran that.
Oh yeah.
It's like what they're doing with now, like all these combines. I know that Exos is putting on like individual combines for, California or Arizona, different states. So I always get kind of suspicious because at his pro day, he ran, at combine, he ran 4.7, pro day, he ran 4.3. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, you got to,
It was kind of stopwatches, right? Because that's what everybody got their own stopwatch. So even at the combine, there's the famous picture of Charlie Casserly sitting there.
Yeah, that's his name.
Spot, like getting it just right, because he doesn't trust the official time. He's got to time it himself. And, a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
They have themselves. And so it's the same deal to pro day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie, he was towards, his recent years, he's been close, but like, I remember, when the earlier years when he started doing that, like it just started getting frustrating because you're starting spitting out numbers and they show up. It's like, dude, you're way off. Now he's like pretty much spot on.
Yeah. Yep. He's got it down to a science.
Yeah. He wasn't the best GM, but he was, good at what he does now.
Yeah. So back to being a Philly fan. It sounds like you're a little bit of a lone wolf up there in your area. Did you have someone that you'd watch Eagles games with like every week?
No, my family, so like, again, I would watch them when they would come on, so in the Washington area, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
When down here to Tennessee, I was about 9. I think I was right when I turned 9 years old. We moved down here to Tennessee, and I mean, everybody down here is Titan fans, so it wasn't as bad because you're not in the division anymore. You're not even in the conference. And so they were like, okay, well, you're an Eagles fan. You come from up north, big deal, right? Like, that's just kind of how Tennessee is.
Yeah.
And we didn't get TV right away when we got down here. So what we would do is we would go in, we had internet in my dad's office, and the NFL Game Center, when you go to the NFL.com, you click on the game, that's the stat, kind of like the brief. That was how I followed football until I was 12, 13 years old, I think, maybe 14. And we'd watch the highlights and we'd watch all that kind of stuff, but we didn't have TV, so I record and fact books. I'd get that every year. I've got sitting on my bookshelf over there. I've got like record and fact books from 1980 something to 2014.
Wow.
Maybe
That's
15. Awesome. Remember. And it's just part of my library. It's like, when you're there's so much good information in all those books, right? Like just the records, the rosters back then, looking at the names. And I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a lot, but for somebody like me, I love history.
Yeah.
It's great to back into it and flip through stuff and be like, oh, okay, that's what it was back then. And
Yeah.
Storytelling, I guess.
Yeah. Shout out to Dame Brugler. I print up his big NFL draft analysis thing that he puts out every year, and I put them in binders, and I have them in the top of my closet right now. So same thing. You go back and look at them.
Yeah. It's called The Beast, right?
The Beast. Yep.
Yeah. I was going to call it The Monster, but it's The Beast. Yeah.
The Beast.
Yeah.
So do you have a place in Tennessee now that you can kind of go and meet up with Eagles fans, or you still that lone wolf there?
So there's more Eagle fans down here than you would expect. And what's kind of funny is, so what I now that I'm a girl dad, I really watch games at home, you know, so I often, but you know, if I don't have her for the weekend or something, I'll go to the bar, and half the time there's somebody at the bar who's an Eagles fan, you know, so like,
there you go.
Down here before the Titans moved to Tennessee, because if you remember back in the 90s, they're the Houston Oilers.
Yep.
Everybody was Steelers fans.
Yeah.
If you weren't a Steelers fan, you were a Cowboys fan. So for whatever reason, like Steeler fans seem to be okay with Eagles fans when they're not playing each other, because they don't play each other that often. So there's just there's more Eagle fans down here than you would expect because of that correlation. Somehow, I guess when the Steelers had a couple bad years and the Eagles were good, people jumped on the wagon when they were young or whatever. So no, it's more just going to the bar, kind of enjoying what's on. At this point in my life, I'm so much of an analyst. It's hard for me to enjoy being a fan directly, right? It's because I have to know exactly what's going on, what's bad with the team, so I can talk about it come NFL draft and not be biased and all this. And but I mean, 2017, like, you better believe I was jumping off the roof.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Especially
Right,
as you start stringing together those wins and getting closer and closer.
And it was kind of funny because it was about 2015, 16 is when I started, like, I have to be an analyst, right? Like, if I'm going to be an NFL media person, I need to be able to separate my fandom from stuff so that I can be a better analyst, especially when it comes to my team, because I'm the type of guy, I have the worst luck. If I bet on my team because I'm so confident they're going to win, they lose.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, well, I'm being too overconfident in my team, so I bet against them and they win. And I'm just like, it sucks, right? It's this. I was like, I have to do something about my fandom so that I can be a better analyst. And my approach to that was separating. But when that season came up, it was 2000, you know, like they're 6-1, 7-1. I'm sitting there going, this is a team that can win the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that because I'm a fan. Y'all don't believe me, but like, this is a team capable of winning the Super Bowl. They've taken injuries and they are still winning.
Yeah.
And they've got the depth to make this run, and they did. It was great. And I mean, you still can't.
You thought that even after the Wentz injury? We know Jason Peters went down earlier in the season too.
When Peters went down, it was kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, but no, so the Rams game was actually on in our area. So I was watching that, and I saw Wentz's injury live, week 15. And it was, I'm going to compare. I don't know if this is something I should compare it to, but remember when Dale Earnhardt wrecked back in 2001 in the Daytona, and you watch the wreck and you were like,
wasn't that bad.
It didn't look terrible. With Wentz's knee, when he made the dive, it was kind of like, okay, then he got hurt and all of a sudden he's out for the year. And you're just like, it was that same sort of sinking feeling, like, Nick Foles is our quarterback. Holy cow.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially when you're like, well, he did come in for the play afterwards and got the touchdown or whatever it was, touchdown or 2-point conversion, something like that. So you're like, if he tore his ACL, he probably wouldn't have done that. And then
it's like, that's what made it even more so unbelievable, so surreal, right? Was seeing him come in. I think he threw the touchdown pass. I think he was ruled short.
Yeah.
I think he was ruled short of the end zone. It had in the elbow down or something. And he came back in, he threw the touchdown, and then he's walking off to the locker room, and that's the last time we saw him on the field,
Yeah.
And so that stung, obviously, that week, especially one day you wake up and there's Adam Schefter and he's tweeting and he's like, hey, look, like Wentz is out. And it's like,
that's always the worst.
That is tough. Well, we are talking about some players. G, you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on for sure.
All right. We want to take a guess at who your favorite all-time Eagle is. This is one of the teams where I started going through the list, and I mean, this is our almost 20th episode, and this is the biggest list of players that I'm like could potentially be there. You guys just have some great players throughout the years. So there's plenty to choose from. G, you got one in mind?
Yeah, he was definitely my favorite Eagle. Like, even when TL was on the team, for sure. Shout out TL. I love that guy. I mean, he always has a special place in my heart. But one guy that I always loved, I felt like he was super underrated, super consistent, though, was Brian Westbrook. He was definitely one of my favorite running backs in the league. I always held him to the higher standard, and I loved it when we got him on the Niners for sure, but he definitely wasn't the same as he was in Philly. I loved watching him, out of Philly, coming out of a small school for football at Villanova, who's mostly known for basketball. I just thought it was awesome to see somebody who, definitely got founded by, Andy Reid, saw something special with him, started him, and see what he did, man. I thought he had an awesome career for sure.
Having good. That's great for any running back. I mean, you look now, running backs that don't make it 4, so no, Westbrook was great. I mean, we liked him a lot.
Duran, you got your favorite player or what?
It's for me, it's got to be Brian Westbrook. To me, he was the guy that was a constant there. All Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer. I got to go with Brian Dawkins. Sorry,
Brian Dawkins,
Brian
the Wolverine.
Yeah,
both Brian's. My guy was Dawkins.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn, man.
Gotta be.
I should have known, man. Like you said, he loved physical corners, although he didn't play corners. But man, that guy was physical. Man, that guy was like
pop your top.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Dawkins was that guy that as a fan growing up being a kid, you wanted to be. When we go out and play backyard football and stuff, like that was the guy I was like, I'm gonna be Brian Dawkins, right? Like that's my thing.
Did you do his introduction dance or what?
No, I didn't go that far. I did not go that. I don't think I was capable of doing an introduction dance, to be honest. I'm not a dancer. So, but no, I would hit these guys, and I hurt some people.
Yeah, you're living for Brian Dawkins.
Shit. Hell yeah.
So if Brian Dawkins, if you say he was Batman, who do you say was Robin also on that defense? It could be another position or just another player he kind of felt like was side by side with him there.
Back in the big, like the championship runs and stuff, would have been Jeremiah Trotter.
Yeah, that's who I thought too.
Jeremiah, for sure.
Middle linebacker, just killing it. I mean, he probably was wearing the dot on his helmet. Brian Dawkins just backing it in. Those two guys, they're both pretty much in the center of the field, but different levels. And as a wide receiver, you did not want to go across there at all. So that's exactly who I had in mind with that. We talked about his last episode too. Brian Dawkins' huge hits, the classic Reggie Bush one, the Algie Crumpler hit. And then the Michael Vick ended up saying that's the hardest he's ever been hit. Both of them laid out on the field, but that was his style. So you were living through him. You're doing the same.
Well, as much as a 12-year-old kid can do, at my size, I'm not a big guy. I wasn't a big guy back then at all. So back then I hurt some people because I was reckless.
So you were more like Bob Sanders then.
Kept getting injured.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So the Eagles drafted him in 1996, the second round out of Clemson. He was with the Eagles for 13 years. But how did you feel when he eventually moved on to the Denver Broncos?
It was kind of lukewarm, because it was time for him to. He'd been such a great piece, but that's the thing is when you really when you really enjoy a player, you almost come to love them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, totally. Talking to fans
You
here, buddy.
totally want what's best for them too.
Yeah.
And in that, going to Denver, kind of, getting out for a little while and into another place in the league, with the way that the Eagles were going and everything, and they had the young secondary guys coming up at the time, it was just time. It was time for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucked because I was like, well, he's been our star, like our guy since I started watching. But at the same time, I was happy for him because that's what he wanted to do. That's what he needed to do. So,
yeah, that's a good one. G, you got anything else on Brian Dawkins? I do want to ask him a couple more about players.
No, I mean, nothing about Brian Dawkins, but I remember when you guys talking about Trotter. I know that Trotter went to a small school as well, too, didn't he? Didn't he, like, he went to, like, a school out in Texas, because I know that's where he's from. It was like
I have no
clue. Top of my head.
I have no clue.
It's like, right, I don't know. Like, it's not Johnny Hopkins. I want to say it's like Stephen Austin or something.
No, he went to Cincinnati. Oh, no, that's not him. That's Trent Cole.
I
don't know where he went.
Stephen Austin or something like that.
Texas boy.
Yeah, I know he's a Texas. I know he's Texas. I know he didn't go to Texas. I would have known if he went to Texas. But it was a small school, and that's something that I feel like your guys' front office was always so good at, is finding like these, diamonds in the rough for sure. So I mean, Trotter was definitely another good guy, and like you guys were talking about earlier, you don't want to be a receiver catching a slant, because if Trotter don't get you, damn right Dawkins will. So.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, man, that was scary to go across the middle. Me being a former receiver, I'd probably alligator arm it. Like,
100%.
I would give up.
Oh, I gotta hold on to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, being always having a close eye on the Eagles, is there a player that you kind of feel like was a little bit over or underrated that didn't get enough attention? I have in mind a couple guys here. Now, I mentioned him in the last one, was Deuce Staley, just because how much he meant to the Eagles throughout the years. But another guy that I wanted to bring up was Trent Cole. Trent Cole, if you just look at the Eagles, their franchise history and stuff, he's number 2 in franchise sacks, only behind Reggie White, number 1 in tackles for loss, number 1 in QB hits. And, when Chip Kelly came in and kind of cleaned house, he was one of those guys that left, but man, he was a really, really good player.
I have a ton of his cards sitting around because every year Score would make. He was on the score list every year. Tops made him every year.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a good edge guy, and he was the guy that stepped up when Javon Curse moved on.
Okay, the freak.
And so because we pulled Javon Curse from the Titans and went to the Super Bowl too with him. And so Cole was kind of that guy when Curse got to the point, because I think 2005 was just a really rough year all around for the Eagles. It was just rough coming off the Super Bowl loss. Curse moved on and Cole stepped up, and now it was the perfect fit for that defense. But Staley's a good one that you mentioned, not just because of what he did on the field, but what he's done as a coach for the Eagles. So
yeah, he was a coach.
More valuable than a lot of people realize.
Yeah, he's a coach there for 10 years. And I always remember them saying, like, he was the one that rotated in all the running backs. The coaches called the plays, but he was the guy that sat there and he chose who should be in at those situations. And he had a good stable of running backs to choose from, all different types.
There were rumors that were coming out when, Doug Peterson got fired that he was going to be the head. And he would totally deserve something like that with the way that he's always operated.
Yeah. Well, he's now at the Lions.
Opportunity somewhere. I mean, he's a really good coach. I know he's not been a coordinator yet, but that's not all what coaching is. I mean, being a head coach, coordinating, it's not.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would have complained about that one, especially in Philly. He is in Detroit
right now.
Yeah. He's in Detroit right now. I don't know what his exact position is there, but
I think
hopefully
he's co-offensive coordinator.
What is he?
I think he's co-offensive coordinator there.
Okay.
I imagine he's handling the running backs too.
Yeah, of course.
I'll get my producer to pull it up.
Of course. G, you got anything about players?
I mean, one guy that I always thought that was underrated, he wasn't with a team for super long, and I know now he gets kind of a bad rap. I'm not 100% sure, but Freddie Mitchell, I mean, one play I do remember is that 4th and 26, and Donovan scrambling, and he finds Freddie. I mean, sorry, Durant, I think it was against the Cowboys, wasn't it?
Probably.
But
I don't remember it.
I just remember, he was always consistent. He wasn't the fastest. He just, he was just a dude that was very consistent, ran good routes, knew all the offensive schemes inside and out, so he can, understand his role and what to do. And I felt like he played a good number 2 for, when T.O. was there for sure. So,
yeah.
Now that you guys have mentioned, you brought up a couple names. It's jogged my memory a little bit with a couple underrated guys, and these are wide receivers too. Todd Pinkston.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, he was a really good, solid, steady wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then another one that we had for a good long while that was a really consistent number 3 was Jason Avant.
Jason Avant. Yeah, how did I forget about him?
I thought you were going to say Thrash.
You can just keep going with this list.
Keep going with these
Brent
wide
Selleck,
receivers.
I mean, he wasn't a wide receiver, but I felt like he had his shine, and
I have 3 Brent Selleck jerseys.
Oh, do you?
That's how long he was with the team, and so they would send me a jersey for my birthday every year, just about, and I have 3 of them.
What was your first jersey? Do you know?
McNabb.
Was it McNabb jersey?
McNabb. Yep.
Nice.
Back while they were making their Super Bowl run in 04.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. That's it for me for players, G.
So Deuce Staley is the assistant head coach and running backs coach.
Hey, he's on his way to heading up to that head coach position.
Yeah, I mean, him and Motor City Dan. I mean, I feel like over there in Detroit, they're hiring a bunch of recent football players.
It's all ex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're all everybody is on that staff. It's incredible, and it's exactly what Detroit needs. It's great.
Yeah.
I think
like they need
the attitude they're trying to persuade there.
They need some Romanowski back there.
Hey now.
That'd be funny, man, to see him. I'd like to see that coach. Like, you get Motor City Dan out there, then you got Bill Romanowski, him going head to head. I think that'd be awesome. Fuck it. They'll do Oklahoma drill themselves. I don't care. But all right. Yeah, let's move on. We could talk about Philly players like Duran was saying. We can talk about them for days. So yeah, definitely let's move on to the next topic for sure, which is we talked about your favorite players. We want to know about your favorite coach.
I mean, so I've only witnessed personally, Reed was the coach. Reed became the coach there when I was 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I may not have been 2 yet when that was 98, I think, or 98 or 99. So
99.
Okay. So I was 2. But so I witnessed Reed, and then I witnessed Chip Kelly, that disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Peterson, and now Ciriani.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the cliche answer because it's recent, and recency bias is always the thing. But it's Doug.
Okay.
Oh, is it okay? I thought you were going to say Reed, honestly.
Well, I think that with the way Reed left, a lot of Eagle fans don't care for him. It's like a lot of the Eagle fans that I know don't care for him. And it was like when it was time for him to go, it was time for him to go. And it was he'd worn out his welcome in Philly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that I haven't rooted against him personally, but I know a lot of people that rooted against him in Kansas City. And it was like, yeah, he's never going to win a Super Bowl. And it was just anti-Reed.
Mm-hmm.
But it is because Doug won that Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
And that year, put together that coaching staff. He was the ultimate underdog coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, there was
the underdog masks.
There was an article that was dropped in 2016 at the end of the head coaching cycle, and all the head coaches vacancies have been filled. And it's really funny. I've seen screenshots. I forget what website had it. It was one of the big sports ones. They had the best head coaching hire was the Browns hiring what was his name? The three coach Jackson. Yeah, he was the best hire, and then the worst hire was Doug Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like when he came in, he was the underdog, and 16 was a rough year, but 17 was incredibly the opposite. It was the opposite of 16, and you had that cult that was set, and it worked for a couple of years, and it was a lot of fun. And that was our first Super Bowl, guys. Like we didn't have one before that. We lost to the 80s. We lost to Tom Brady, and Peterson came in there, and we beat Tom Brady at the time. So I think he's my favorite coach for the Eagles because of the Super Bowl win, literally, and just that entire fun, being the underdog, creating that mantra that entire year, and having a great time.
I found that article. It's by USA Today. So number 7, they did the top 7. So number 7 was Doug Peterson. Let's see here. Number 6, we got Mike Mularkey. Number 5, we got Adam Gase.
Oh.
Number 4, we got Dirk Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, we got Hugh Jackson. Number 2, we got Ben McAdoo.
Whoa. Okay.
Oh God.
Whoa.
That's my number 1. Dang, they wrote a lot about McAdoo. Number 1. Oh wow, they said the best. Oh, that pisses me off. They said the best coaching hire was San Francisco when they hired Chip Kelly.
Oh wow. So none of those coaches are there anymore.
Yeah, I think they were all like 1 year besides Hugh Jackson, who was like 1.5. But
and Doug.
1 year.
And Doug Peterson.
Oh, yeah, and Doug Peterson.
But none of those coaches are there now. I mean, I don't think
Hugh Jackson, he lasted 2.5. See, they were.
Oh, did he? 2.5? Okay.
Yeah, it was. They had the 0-16 and the 1-15, and he was the head coach the entire time.
Yeah, he got ruined by Hard Knocks after his Hard Knocks appearance, dealing with the quarterback stuff, and that poor guy. I felt bad for him on that one, but still not in the NFL. But back to Doug Peterson. I mean, he did win the Super Bowl for you guys. Andy Reid had the Super Bowl loss. You guys are, one of the only teams besides the Giants has played Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. You guys have 1 win and 1 loss. So congrats that you snuck one in the Tom Brady era. I mean, that is just amazing on that one. But that Super Bowl was also great. Patriots 33, Eagles 41. We all know the Philly quarterback situation. Nick Foles comes in, the Philly special stuff, and I felt like, especially towards the end of the game, they really took over and came back and won that thing, man. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that was great. I mean, I'd love to see, like that was a whole time where they're all wearing the German Shepherd masks, the underdog mask. And I think it was like Lane Johnson who pretty much captured that moment for sure. And I thought that was awesome. It's just something great to see, always see the underdog upset somebody. But I'm gonna be honest, man, I was voting for Tom. I thought Tom was going to win because, old Nick Foles, but hey, he proved me wrong. And I'm glad he did, man, because that was a good Super Bowl. I enjoyed that one for sure.
Yeah. Doug Peterson, he was Andy Reid was the first one that hired him. I didn't know that.
Yeah, KC, right?
He was the quarterback coach, right?
Yeah.
Came over.
Okay. The problem that people had with him was the fact that he didn't call plays, because Andy Reid
he calls plays. Yep.
So that was why everybody was like, "This guy's not ready to be a head coach."
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, he was hoisting the
Lombardi Trophy.
He sure was.
Does he have a job right now?
I don't think he. No.
So I know that. Let's see. I know a couple guys went to Alabama. I mean, I know Bill O'Brien did,
and Doug Marrone.
Yep. Doug Marrone. That was the other one. I was like, somebody else went there. Doug Marrone was the other guy. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Is Jim Schwartz? I think he's taking a year off too, right?
Yes.
I think he said the same thing.
He was planning on doing that.
Oh, okay.
defense was terrible this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the injuries, but a lot of it was personnel as well. And he was like, look, I just can't. He dealt with the personnel issue the year before too, and I think it was just too much. But yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I know we already talked about players, but we're gonna go into your least favorite coach. And I also want to know your least favorite player that was ever on the team. I mean, we all have them, you know, as much as fans don't want to admit, like, hey, man, if they're on their team, we're going to root for our asses all for them. Like me as a Niner fan, I wasn't a big Troy Smith fan. I wasn't a big Blaine Gabbert fan. I wasn't a Blaine Gabbert fan at all. I didn't like the guy.
Who is?
Right? I mean, fucking, he has a ring now. But, you know, like, there were some guys that were on the Niners that I just did not like. And, like, I'm just wondering, was there anybody on the Eagles that you did not like? And also, who was your least favorite coach? I mean, I think you kind of mentioned it with Chip Kelly. We're on the same boat there. But,
you know, coach-wise, it's Kelly for sure. I mean, watching dismantle that entire roster, that was sad.
Yeah, I bet.
You had the brief blast of hope with Nick Foles and Riley Cooper and all that and stuff, but it was short lived. So I think there's a couple of guys that come to mind, and I just said one, Riley Cooper. Just, I mean, he could play on the field, but didn't seem like he was a guy you'd want to hang out with off the field, and just not somebody that, you know, I don't think really we appreciated all that much as Eagle.
Yeah.
And the other guy that comes to mind is back when we were putting together the dream team. Vince.
No.
Vince.
Oh, damn it.
Now,
man, if my brother listens to this, he's going to be so pissed off.
Nothing against Vince Young. It was because, I mean, like, he's a cool dude, and, you know, like, hey, he was a lot of fun to watch at Texas and stuff, but, and then that rookie year with the Titans, but, like, I knew when he was coming over, like, why are we bringing this guy here? This isn't a dream team. If Vic goes down, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Like that. And no, I wasn't excited. I wasn't happy about Vince Young being there. Thought we could have had a better option.
Was that the same year you signed Nomne Osama?
I think so.
Yeah, I remember that. And he just never showed up there.
Up in 2009.
Okay.
And that was when Vince came in, because we had Asante Samuel too. They just come in 2008. And Asamoah was supposed to be the guy that was supposed to fix everything with the secondary. It didn't happen.
It didn't. Well, it had to be a defensive scheme thing. I don't quite know what it was back then, but Nomne was a beast in Oakland. But once he made that move, and he never recovered after that. I don't know what it was.
No, he played for Frisco for a bit, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wasn't the best. I mean, I want to say that Dante Johnson of all people beat him out, which is kind of hard to say. But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like Duran was saying earlier in the episode, death, taxes, and Dante Johnson still in the league.
There you go.
But yeah, man. I mean, when it comes to Riley Cooper, I mean, you think that Tim Tebow would have rubbed off on him a little bit, being a good guy or something. Didn't rub off at all. Like, he seemed kind of like a dickhead outside of the game, which is always sad to see. But back to the coaches. I mean, Chip Kelly, I mean, we obviously just read they thought that he was the best coaching hire for the San Francisco 49ers, which I wasn't a big fan of. I mean, I get that. I did not want to root for. I mean, I didn't want our team to lose, but at the same time, it's like, fuck, well, he's our head coach. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, man, you guys went to the playoffs with him one year, right? And then after the first year. Then after that, like, that defense just couldn't keep up with that Oregon style offense. Like,
they would.
So it does make you wonder a little bit. How did he see that type of success at Oregon?
College style, the spread, quick.
But he's gone on. He went on to San Francisco, and obviously that was a fail.
Yep.
And now he's back at UCLA. It has been a massive fail. You know, and it's almost like Oregon wasn't anything really special until Chip Kelly got there, and he became this master super genius.
Yeah.
And built this culture and built, this recruiting, this powerhouse recruiting school in Oregon out there in the West Coast. It just makes you wonder, what was he doing there at Oregon that worked, that doesn't work anywhere else?
Yeah. He also had Marcus Mariota, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, that dude there. But just a little bit back to Doug Peterson, all the stuff that Chip Kelly did to the Eagles is what makes Doug Peterson's Super Bowl so much more impressive. How quick that turnaround was.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, he just went through there and dismantled everything. And then Doug, he fixed it, man. He did his job.
Definitely. I mean, I'm curious to see what the next move is for Doug Peterson. But yeah, man, I just remember like thinking like, man, what is Chip doing? He goes, oh, I know I need to find the right players.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to think like I remember that year I started to go back and I watched so much Oregon, game. I had a good buddy of mine, Josh, who was a huge Ducks fan. So I started asking him, who's this guy? What's, what kind of, system does he run? What kind of receiver works best? And he was letting me know. So I was kind of thinking, who they're going to draft, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know what Chip was thinking. Did not work. So.
The original team that he came into, and I mean, it seemed like those players would have worked out way better than the guys he brought in. He said bye to Vic, Trent Cole, Jeremy Maclin, Evan Mathis, traded away Shady, Kiko Alonso, Nick Foles, and then he picked up Sam Bradford, who I was never a fan of, brought in DeMarco Murray, who just did not fit that offense, and then Byron Maxwell. Just, if he would have kept those first set of guys, I think he would have did way better.
I mean, there's a bunch of other names we didn't bring up. Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy. That was a fun offense back then, back 2010 with Mike Vick.
Maclin, I feel like he was super underrated.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, where'd he go? He went to Missouri?
I think he was a Missouri dude.
Yeah, I think he was a Missouri dude. But yeah, another guy that's super underrated for sure. I mean, But back to Chip Kelly, I want to say like he even dug deep in his bag and he brought in who I thought he was going to be a stud in the league. His name is Jeffrey Mill or Mall. He was an Oregon guy. He played receiver. He wore number 23. That's why I always kept to look at him because that's a family number, 23. But so I always kept to, a lookout for him. I was like, man, this kid's going to be good. And then I was like, man, he's not making it in the league. I saw some preseason. I was like, he's just not understanding it. And then here comes Chip Kelly, like, oh, yeah, no, this guy knows what he's doing. And he kept him on the roster. And I was like, no, he doesn't got it. Like, you guys are letting go players that
I remember Huff coming from, I think
from Texas.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Texas guy.
Yeah.
There were a lot of questionable roster moves that entire time.
Of course. That was probably the big mistake, is giving him control of the 53-man roster. But yeah, enough Chip Kelly. Let's move on, man. We want to know your earliest Eagles memory. Do you have one? First thing you remember?
Watching a game and them holding a moment of silence for Reggie White.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Preacher.
And because my reaction was, who's Reggie White? That was a little.
Oh yeah, you're younger than us. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of unlocked this. I ended up with a couple books growing up. One was called "It Happens on Sundays," and Reggie White wrote the foreword to it. And it was like a Christian book about mixing faith and football, and it was really, really awesome. But they talked a lot about White, being the minister of the defense, and that was kind of what started me looking into him and trying to figure out who he was, and really came to respect who he was off the field. And that's my earliest memories, because it was one of the first names I really was like, who is this guy? I need to know who he is. And found like, wow, what a man.
Yeah, he has crazy, crazy accolades. Hall of Famer, of course, 13-time Pro Bowler, 8-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champ, defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year, He pretty much did it all throughout his career, man.
Yeah,
And-
Reggie was awesome, man. Is that the reason why you moved to Tennessee or what?
Do what now?
Is that the reason why you moved to Tennessee?
Oh, is he a
No,
Tennessee guy?
no, I wish.
I don't remember him as a Eagle. I remember him more as a Packer. But even then, I didn't watch much of him.
Yeah,
It's fun to sit there and watch him now because he had that incredible rip where he would just throw,
where he just throw guys,
and watching him throw 300-pound dudes like they're rag dolls. You're like, what on earth?
Yeah,
it was like
guy.
It was weird because he'd take a jab step and they'd overcommit, and he's like, "Okay, here you go."
Exactly, like almost like Shaq.
Yeah, it's funny because like I see some offensive linemen do that to some defensive linemen coming out. I'm like, what the hell? That's Reggie White's move. How are you doing this of all people? Like that's so funny. But yeah, I want to say that Reggie started his career like in the he was one of the guys that started out in the USFL.
Yes, he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I want to say he was. Damn it, I can't remember the name, but I know it's Memphis. But yeah, I remember that because I started going back and I saw like Jim Kelly, Steve Young. I'm like, oh my god, like all these players that came from there, in the league. But yeah, like Duran was saying, I remember him mostly when he was a Packer, but I know he spent a lot of good years out there in Philly, and then some years out in Carolina. But
he came to retirement because Bruce Smith passed him for the sack record.
Yeah.
So he came back for a year and got it back.
That's right. He did take a year off. Okay, I thought that was
funny.
Right? He did take a year off.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
that's petty.
That was the whole. No, literally, it was because Bruce Smith passed him.
Yeah,
I think Bruce Smith hit. I think because I know Smith is the leader now.
Yeah.
And it's because Smith had to do another extra year after White to pass him back again. But Reggie came out of retirement literally just to beat Smith again.
That is funny. I did not know that. That's like Barry coming out after Emmett breaks. So he's like, nah, I still got some years left. I got some years left. I could do this.
Cut on these tires. What was that book called that he forwarded?
So it's called It Happens on Sunday.
Okay.
And I was just interviewing this guy out of this linebacker, Rashad Byrd, out of Georgia Southern. And we got off the air and he had mentioned some stuff about faith in football. And I was just like, yeah, we just kind of started talking about it. And I just brought that book up with him like that last week when I was talking to him, because I was like, man, you need to check out this book. Like, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I gotta check that out. I gotta read that myself. I mean, I always enjoy a good read. I just got finished with the Phil Jackson The Living Rings book. No, that one was awesome. I recommend read for sure.
All right, let's move on a little bit. We want to know your favorite memory being an Eagles fan. I mean, of course, you got the Super Bowl.
Dude, do I have to say it? Like, all right. So I was in an apartment with a couple other guys, and they had both left. They were all doing stuff that day, and I was so glad I had it to myself.
Yes.
And so I could just be as loud as I wanted, and I didn't have to worry about pissing anybody off. So I put the game on, watched it to the end, and Tom Brady tries that Hail Mary at the end and throws it up for Gronk, and Gronk can't come up with it. And I'm kind of sitting there stunned for a second, like, wait. Tom Brady didn't pull it off?
Yeah.
we just won the Super Bowl?
Not used to that. Yeah.
And at that moment, one of my roommates came in, and that's when I lost it.
You had a reason to celebrate.
Oh yeah,
someone walked in. Yeah, that's awesome. Tom Brady 500 yards in that game, still kind of come up with the victory. One guy that I like to bring up during that game, the unsung hero to me, LeGarrette Blount, 90 yards rushing, touchdown versus old team, and that was the revenge Super Bowl for the Eagles. I mean, it probably couldn't have played out any better for LeGarrette Blount and the Eagles. So
it was literally one of those moments where you're just like, there's so much disbelief because that's the thing. Philly had they never could win. You know,
Yeah.
they never won a big game. They always choked. And you know, you had all the NFC championships too where they choked.
Yeah, that's the Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was surreal because it's like, you know, this is what it feels like to be a fan. The team who won the Super Bowl. It's insane.
Yeah. That's funny. Like, I know a lot of people do something for the Super Bowl. The fact that you were watching it by yourself until the last second when your roommate walks in. I mean, I know you got to go bug wild for that, man. I mean, that had to be a good feeling. I mean, my team's been in it since, I remember 3 times. We won once, and I was just a little kid. I don't know. I just saw my parents jumping up and down, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll jump up and down too. But yeah, man, like, I want to know that feeling for sure as a fan. I feel like we're right there, but just to see, like you were saying too, is wow, Tom Brady didn't pull it off. Like, that's something that he's known for. To see that and to feel that as a fan, that had to have been awesome. That feeling is, man, like, you probably wanted to scream, I'm going to Disneyland.
Point. So, John Lynch is first off, he's a great GM, right? He was a great player. He's a great GM. And so here's a Senior Bowl story for you. Day 3, practice gets canceled. Well, at least cut off to the media. It was very limited. They had to move it from, you know, the field where they play to an indoor practice facility. So I didn't bother going. I knew I wasn't going to get in. I was going to be too late to get in there with the limited spots. So I was sat down at this cafe. It's got a big hotel attached to it. I forget the name of it. And sat there at the bar, and they had, you know, the practice up on ESPN. And I was like, I'm going to sit here and watch it for a while. And this dude walks in, and like, he looks familiar. I feel like I should know who this is. And we just kind of start talking a little bit. And I'm like, you about to go over there? He's like, yeah. I was like, man, I'm sorry. I should know who you are, recognize you. I just can't place you. And he goes, oh, I'm John Lynch. And I was like, that's right. I was like, man, and this is last year. So this is a week before the Super Bowl. And I'm like, man, that team that you guys put together this year, so much fun. So much fun to watch. It's been really great.
Yeah.
Witness that. And he's like, yeah, thanks, man. He's like, it's been a wild year. We got one more game to go. It's like, but it's not over yet. And we just had a nice little conversation, talked a little bit about the 49ers and, you know, the Senior Bowl. And then he picked up his food and went on to practice. But he's really down to earth. He's very proud of what he does. And I love John Lynch, man. I liked him when he got hired. He was the underdog. I love the underdog.
Yeah.
And you guys are going back. That's for sure.
Yeah, if it wasn't
Mark that down,
injuries.
I'm going to take his receipt. We're going back, baby.
I mean, at the beginning of the year, I had Niners definitely at the top 3-4 teams to return back, but injuries just killed them this year.
Yeah, that's the main year.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's been the thing that's held them back.
Yep.
All right, so we talked about your best memory. Fortunately, to bring you back down a little bit, we want to know about your worst memory. Like, what got to you that you just remember?
So, I was too young to stay up to watch the end of the first Super Bowl, so I don't remember that. I found out the next morning. It's not as bad. So I'm gonna go to 2000. I want to say it was 2009 or 2008.
Okay,
it would have been 8 because Vic took over from Kevin Cobb that year. And we got to the conference championship game. We were playing the Arizona Cardinals, and it was Kurt Warner. And it was like, okay, well, Kurt Warner's washed up. He's old. It's over. We're going to go. And came up short. I was watching that game. And because I think we used to drive like an hour to church every Sunday. And so with the way the time worked out, I was somewhere where I was able to watch it. And I was watching it, and they just came up short. And it wasn't by much, you know, and that sucked. Because you get hyped up during the week. You're like, oh, this quarterback, he can't do it. It's Kurt Warner. He's 37 or whatever he was back then. And you're like, yeah, it's over.
Yeah, it was. That was the 2008 season. The game was actually in 2009. It was a 4:00 game, so you're probably out of church by that time. Cardinals 32, Eagles 25.
Yep.
So definitely a close one. Donovan McNabb, 375 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
And Larry Gerald went off that game. If I remember.
Who's that?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald in that game. He did. 9 catches, 152 yards, 3 touchdowns. His longest was a 62-yarder. So, yeah, Larry Fitzgerald definitely went off on that game. He had the very first touchdown, too. He had a 9-yard touchdown, a 62-yard touchdown, and then a 1-yard touchdown. So, yeah,
I remember
those were prime Larry Fitzgerald days.
Yeah, I remember the 62-yarder. That sucked.
Shit, man. Larry, man, still a beast, man. I mean, I know he's towards the end, so I mean, he's one of my favorite receivers in the league. But
you have to like Larry Fitzgerald. You know, you have to.
You're a monster if you don't.
He's cool. He's too cool.
Yeah, he's super chill, laid back. But yeah, man, what a memory, man. That Kevin Cobb, man, what a name.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I remember him in college. He went to Houston.
Yeah, he did. And they were going to run a whole season with him, and he got hurt against the Packers in the first game. Thank God. I'm sorry. I didn't celebrate somebody getting hurt, but that was the one exception. I think terrible that year.
Yeah. That was a good one. I think he doesn't remember the Super Bowl. We already talked about Chip Kelly. That was a horrible memory that I had for you guys. We talked about the Wentz injury. We talked about the Jason Peters injury. I mean, I can't think of anything else.
I can't think of anything else either.
You got it. Well, let's move on. We want to know about your future expectations. The Eagles have the 6th overall pick. They have 3 picks in the top 100. Is there a specific area or a position that you guys want to draft or that you want to draft? Could be wide receiver, edge rusher. Who knows? It's up to you.
So I dropped I updated my mock draft today, Monday. So
where can the fans find it?
Brawl Network.
Brawl Network.
TheBrawlNetwork.com. It's on there. It's 1.1 because I had just done 1. I put that on Twitter.
Okay.
So basically, I've got them taking Patrick Surtain at 6, the corner, into secondary. I think that's something that they really need to do. The secondary just doesn't have the personnel right now outside of Darius Slay. And then I think Kayvon Wallace is promising as a safety. I think he's going to really fit as a nickel safety. But you've got to start building that personnel. And Patrick Surtain is one of those X factor guys, kind of like Minka, that he's technical. You can move him around the secondary. So I think he would be a great fit there at 6. You're kind of you're hoping that you're going to get a 1st round pick out of Carson Wentz, because it looks like Carson Wentz is being moved this year. I personally, I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan.
Okay. I see the jersey.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fresh. That's a fresh jersey.
I bought this the night he was drafted because I was a big Jalen fan during the entire draft process last year. Loved Jalen. Talked him up. I was like, this guy is borderline 1st round pick. He's a guy I would build my franchise around just because he does have the talent. He's not like an elite talent guy, but he's a great competitor.
He's smart too. He's a smart guy.
He's very smart. And when I met him at the Senior Bowl last year, I'm telling you what, that guy has some of the softest hands I've ever had. I shook his hand and I was like, it's like a big giant pillow. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But big hands on the football, not worried about that. But anyways, because people make a big deal out of quarterback's hand size. He can throw the ball. He can make the decisions. He can get out of the pocket. I think I was a big fan. So I was already buying his jersey no matter what team he went to when he got drafted. So he gets picked by the Eagles in the 2nd round. I was live on a draft show, and everybody knew on the draft show, this is my guy. And the Eagles are
loving it.
They're like, John, the Eagles just picked Hurts. And I was like, stop fucking with me, guys.
Yeah.
It's not. And they're like, no, legit. He's getting picked. Like Schefter just broke it. I'm like, what? Hold on, what?
Yeah. So
Jalen is the guy. You're not worried about
the things that you mentioned, honestly, kind of remind me of Dak Prescott.
yes.
You know what I mean? Definitely, just the overall intangibles are off the charts. Does he have the best arm in the league? No. Is he going to make plays? Yes. And things like that. So I'm not quite sold on him yet. I don't know if you guys are going to get a first round pick for Wentz, especially with that contract.
Right now, it doesn't look like it. No.
Yeah. You're hoping for it for sure. But one thing about the draft targets that you mentioned, Surtain. Why do you like Surtain over Farley? Because I'm looking at cornerbacks too.
Okay, so it's kind of funny. We were talking about this over here before in the DMs.
Yes, sir.
So Farley is what you call a mirror technique corner.
Okay.
And what that means is his technique is in Eric Crocker, if you know who that is, the Crocker Report. He talks a lot
on the
of
show. Hell yeah.
Yep.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But he's one of the dudes that's really good at listening to about defensive backs and the different techniques that they play. And he's talked about this. So, and I always loved playing corner. So corner is one of my favorite positions to talk about. He's a mirror technique guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's going to line up on you. He's going to square his body up with you, and he's going to react to to the moves that you make.
Yep.
So the thing about Farley is and you've seen it, like when he went up against Jeff Thomas last year with Miami, who was a good college route runner. He got burned a couple times because Thomas would get him to flip his hips off to the side and then take off the other way. And then Farley's 2-3 steps behind by the time he recovers. So because of his technique, I'm concerned about him at the next level because of the fact that he's a mirror guy and he's not physical at the line of scrimmage. So you don't want to play him in press. He's a man corner, but he really fits a zone scheme, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So kind of oddball prospect with insane athleticism, and that's why he's going to go as high as he does. But I'm not convinced. I wouldn't be comfortable getting him.
I could see why he's kind of in the talks for the Cowboys as well, because I think we will be playing that cover 3 zone type of thing where he can kind of do his thing. But I haven't had a chance to dig into film this year yet. Just been too busy, but it's definitely on my to-do list. I'm going to start with corners. I'm starting with defensive players, edge rushers, and stuff like that. So that's just good to keep in mind.
Yeah,
if you want to see somebody who's really good, that'll probably still be on the board for the Cowboys pick is J.C. Horn out of South Carolina.
Heard of him? Yep.
Yeah. You said that he was your number 2, correct? If I recall our conversation. Yeah, you said he was our number 2. He definitely sparked out there. And one thing that me and Duran love when we watch, NFL game film or draft film, I should say, NFL. We always watch, who's, where they came from, so he comes from the NFL bloodline, There's a couple guys in the draft that, went through there. So you got J.C. Horn, you got Patrick Surtain, and you also have who you mentioned earlier, Asante Samuel Jr. He's not as big as both those guys. I think he's like 5'10".
So normally you knock an inch off of what the college says because college always add an inch or two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got him sitting at 5'8", and he's about 180, 175.
Okay.
Where is he at on your guys's? Sorry,
I actually just mocked him in the first to Green Bay. He's going to be a slot guy in the NFL. So somebody that you want to play your number against the number 3. And I don't know how long that's going to last because Chase Claypool is just changed the entire slot position with the way
playing that big slot. Yeah.
Right. They're going to start going big slot, tight end type slot. Kyle Pitts is going to do a lot out of the slot too, wherever he goes. So people are going to be looking for those bigger guys, and those smaller defensive backs are going to kind of die out, I think.
Okay.
But he's very athletic and he's a ball hawk. And that's something I think Green Bay can use. They're losing Kevin King to free agency. They're gonna try to bring up who was their other, because they got Jair Alexander and they got another second round that year.
Josh Jackson.
Yeah, Josh Jackson. They're gonna try to move him up into that, and they're gonna want somebody to play that slot, and I think that fits for
You got that safety too.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a great secondary. I mean, I know we want to keep getting Aaron Rodgers his weapons, but I don't see how you could pass that up. I think that'd be great for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I liked Asante Samuel a lot, and I like JC Horn a lot. But everyone's saying like he's just 1 year wonder. Like he didn't do anything last year. But like it takes time. I mean, to develop a good corner.
And situation has a lot to do with scouting too. I don't think a lot of people realize. You have to look at the point where Will Muschamp was the head coach of that team last year, and he's not somebody that's like, he's technically a defensive guy, but he's not somebody that's really good at being a head coach and managing a team. And if you look at what they did, they had like Javon Kinlaw was on that team last year, and he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So JC Horn, what they asked him to do, and you see this a lot when they played like Alabama, and Alabama smoked that secondary the entire time with just pure speed. But the thing with Horn is, it's like Horn doesn't want to play 10 yards off the line of scrimmage and play zone. He wants to play man. He wants to be physical. He wants to play press. And so that's kind of where they had him playing a lot, was that 5-10 yard cushion and in that zone type coverage. And it doesn't fit what Horn does best.
Horn has some size to him too. I see him right here, 6'1". I don't know if we're going to take your rule and knock off the 1 inch, 6'1", 200 pounds.
That's what's funny. With all
6 foot.
Horn,
go ahead.
All these at 6'1" this year. But 6 foot. Dang it, guys. Come on.
Yeah. I'll take 6 foot any day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Now, Asante Samuel seemed a little small. I mean, that'd be tough for him matching up with a lot of these outside wide receivers in the NFL. I mean,
not somebody you want to put on the boundary.
Exactly.
Another corner that's really good too, Israel Mukuamu.
Syracuse, right?
No, that's
Melifonwu.
Yeah, Melifonwu.
Yeah, that's Obi's brother. Yeah.
No, Mukuamu is the other guy that plays on the other side in South Carolina. And last year against Georgia, he picked off Jake Fromm 3 times. So I don't think anybody had ever picked him off more than once in a game. And he didn't throw many picks.
Yeah, he was known for protecting the ball.
Yeah. And Mukuamu torched him 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, he's huge too.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's big.
6'3", 205.
Yeah, I saw somebody in a mock saying they took him in the second, but they moved him to strong safety.
I can see it. I think there's going to be concerns with his athleticism and his long speed, but
can he hit? Is he physical?
Yeah,
yes.
He's physical.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I remember that guy like that. That's something that my boy Zach, shout out to Zach Penn. He mentioned him earlier. He's like, yeah, look out for this guy for sure. Like he's dope. Like watch him. Then I remember I was like, dude, this other guy, JC Horn, is actually pretty dope because he's playing out of his mind this year. I don't get it. Like it's good to see, but yeah, keep your eye on Izzy. And I was like, all right. Yeah, Izzy, he was when he came up and hit, I was like, damn, this guy is strong safety. He goes, no, he's outside corner. I was like, damn, he hits hard. I forgot who they're playing, but he laid out a running back. I was like, shit, that's hard to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Laid him out.
A lot of fun to watch. I really enjoy him.
You heard it here first, Dan Quinn. Come on. All right, man. Let's move on a little bit. Just a couple contracts that are going to come up, maybe a guy or two retiring. You got Jason Peters at 38, Corey Clement, Boston Scott, Greg Ward. Also on the offensive side, Deshaun Jackson, Jason Kelsey. Are there any of those guys that you would prioritize and bringing back?
So I think I was reading today, they're $45 million over in cap right now.
Yep.
And
by when?
why they want to. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So what kind of hurt this year is, COVID and losing all the revenue that you did.
Yeah.
The salary cap has jumped 10 million like every year the last 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, it was even jumping 8 or 6 in that range. So you've been getting a consistent, steady $10 million raise in the salary cap every year because of the revenue the NFL generates. Now, problem is, you didn't get that revenue this year. You were anticipating that revenue, and you just lost 30-40 million in cap that you were anticipating having. So now you're way over. And I think all those guys that you mentioned aren't going to come back, and it's going to be really salary concerns.
I can see that. There's going to be a lot of teams in that position too. So the free agent market might be crazy this year.
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
The trade is going to be insane too, and people trying to renegotiate contracts and moving people. And what makes it even crazier too is you got the fact that you have that extra playoff spot now. Like, people don't realize how much that competitive landscape, because one extra playoff spot is a lot for a lot of teams. It keeps them playoff hunt.
Definitely.
So the trade market is probably going to end up becoming something similar to what we see in the NBA, because it's just you have teams that are 1 or 2 players away from making a playoff run. Yeah. And now they have a reason to be aggressive and go get those guys.
So I know his contract's not up, and he was like actually one of my draft crushes coming out is Arcega-Whiteside.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's like, especially watching Claypool put on a show this year, they said this is what he was
wanted Arcega-Whiteside to be. Yep.
Yeah. So do you agree with that? And 2, where do you see we're talking about future expectations here. Where do you see his future with the team? Like, is he gonna blossom or whatnot? Just, it's been 2 years and he hasn't done jack shit.
Part of that is, I think, with injuries. Mm-hmm. So I loved him too. He was a draft crush of mine too. So I relate on this. I loved him coming out. It was like, this guy, big red zone target, put him in the slot, thrive, which is exactly what I said about Claypool too. But I think people were, when I said that about Claypool, they were all like, no, that's not going to happen, John. You said that about Arcega-Whiteside. And I'm like, shut up. I don't know. I don't know there's something not clicking. He might need a change of scenery. He might need, and maybe this coaching staff will be that. I don't have much confidence in this coaching staff personally after what I've seen so far, but maybe that change of scenery is enough for him to get going. I don't get it either. You saw there was a concern he was coming out with the separation, the fact that he doesn't create it. And the only way that he really does create is being more physical going up for the football, not being fast enough to outrun somebody or enough out of his break to make somebody go the wrong direction for a step or two. Yep. It's going up and being more physical and getting the ball. And he hasn't done that. So no, I think you're going to be moving on from him. I do. I think you're going to be planning to get other guys. You've got another ridiculously deep wide receiver class this year, and it would make sense to, move on.
I'm all about that. Bringing in the new wide receivers, letting the older guys go.
Who's your receiver one this year?
So I've jumped back and forth between Devonta Smith, and Jamar Chase. And now that my grades are done on most of the top receivers, it's just barely Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I was a big, me and Duran were big Jamar Chase fans, definitely during that national championship game. Like, that dude was a beast. I mean, it was Justin Jefferson, like, oh man, like, he's just taking thrive off of, Jamar Chase, and we've seen what Jefferson can do. But I don't know. I even if he came out last year, I would have had him receiver one.
I think the thing that he does well is he's a very, very subtle route runner.
Yeah. And I like that. I like how you said that.
He doesn't run very fast when he's making, so like, let's say those couple go touchdowns that he caught against Terrell in the championship game. Mm-hmm. If you watch, he's not really running full speed when he takes off down the sideline, and Terrell's keeping up because Terrell's right in his hip pocket the entire time. He's kind of running at about 80-85% speed.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that ball gets in the air and it's about halfway there, it's like Chase has this ability to know where he needs to be, and he turns on the jets and creates that separation at the end of the route.
Exactly.
And that's something that's very difficult as a corner to try to figure out.
That's valuable. Antonio Brown, genius at doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Genius at it. I don't know how the hell he does it. Yeah, so that's a lot to take in just for those guys. G, anything else about players coming up, or can we move on to a little bit about coaching?
Yeah, well, let's move on a little bit about coaching. I mean, I can talk your ear off about draft. I definitely have my questions, but I can do that on another time for sure. Let's talk about
draft
coaching,
episode.
Yeah, we could.
So let's move on. You guys got a new head coach, Nick Sirianni. I mean, I don't know much about him besides he was the former Colts offensive coordinator. He's supposed to – I thought he was going to come in and kind of revitalize Wentz and kind of be in his but it sounds like there's still some, trade talks going on and stuff. What do you think is going to happen there? What do you expect from Nick?
So I was right there with you. I thought that was why they got him, because Frank Reich was the guy that worked really well with Wentz, right?
Yeah.
And then as Reich goes, realized, man, Reich was a really good offensive coordinator, like a really good play caller.
Yeah.
And he had that relationship with him and Wentz solid. So that's what it looked like when they were bringing him. But it doesn't look like Wentz is going to be in Philadelphia in 2021. So we're moving beyond that. We're going, okay, Jalen Hurts is the guy. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was kind of like, okay, we're going to keep Wentz, all that, Then I hear this press conference. So him talk about this system that he wants to implement.
Yeah.
And how we're going to keep everything simple, but hard for defenses to understand. And he's kind of like droning on. And I'm like, it's like listening to a politician talk about football. Like there's no, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know enough about this guy. I don't know enough about the staff. I mean, I saw a lot of Colts hats when, the Eagles dropped all the pictures of all the guys that they hired.
Yeah.
Like, golly, like my expectations are very low as an Eagles fan. Kind of like, all right, well, we're going to suck for a little while, but he might not make it through his first year. I don't understand this hire at all.
I feel you.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. I mean, I know you're talking about his press conference. I mean, he before, Dan Campbell's press conference, I mean, there wasn't really anything like special about these press conferences coming off with the new hires. Dan Campbell's comes out. Dude, this guy's talking about chewing off kneecaps and shit. And here comes Sirianni's press conference. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? It's like, we want these smart players, and we're going to work good because we have smart players and stuff. It's like, what? What? Like, what are you talking about?
There was a Kentucky radio station was asking me about this a couple weeks ago. They're like, yeah, what do you think? I'm like, it's Joe Biden talking football. Like, come on, man. Like,
he got scared. He got scared of the media's backlash of Dan Campbell. And to me, he kind of froze up and he didn't want to give anything for the media to bite on. It just stopped, and he was
he came off
clearly nervous.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
It was crazy because you got
coherent rant, it's and
you got Motor City Dan talking for 2 hours on one question. And he's like, yeah, punch me in the face and get back up and chew off your patella. If you do it again, I'm going to chop off your other patella. It's like, whoa, what the hell? And he gets Sirianni. I'm like, all right, see what this guy got. So, I figure his would be calm, cool, collective. Like, yeah, it's a new regime. We're here to take over. We see what we can do. We see, Carson Wentz is your guy. Like, oh, yeah, he's our guy. We'll see what he does. I haven't had a chance to meet him yet, et cetera, et cetera. He goes on a tangent, and it's just like, dude, you're digging your grave. Stop. Just stop. You got to know when to stop. I didn't get his press conference. I just didn't what the fuck is going on with you, bro? Like,
Yeah.
stop.
It's
a tough
like
one.
maybe 5 wins this year, and maybe, Jalen's got the competitive edge to get you 8, but it's
So
not.
So you'll win the division.
Maybe. Just
so
maybe.
if we were to put, we're putting on the spot right now. Your predictions. You predict how many wins you're gonna get. Predict your record.
Oof.
Yeah, I said 5, so 5-11.
5.
5-11.
Let's get through free agency and the draft, and then we'll see where we're at. I mean,
Yeah, we'll touch back.
Press conference.
Going off the press conference alone.
based off the press conference.
Like, okay, who went to Harvard and Stanford?
Yeah. Do you got anything else for the coaches?
I have nothing else for the coaches, man. I mean, he said it.
Yeah. Well, I got one more question. I mean, I know you said your expectations are low for Philly. The NFC East, of course, as we know, hasn't had a repeat winner in 17 years. Who do you think is going to take it this year?
There you go.
Wow. So I like what the Giants are doing a lot, as much as that pains me to say, because
He just doesn't want to say Cowboys.
Everything's going to pain you.
So here's the deal: is you hate the Giants more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can kind of deal with the Cowboys. You hate them too,
Mm-hmm.
but the team really don't care about is Washington.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever. So that's how the Eagles conference. But the Giants are really doing some good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Joe Judge, he's building something, and I like what they're doing. So they're running a cover 2 defensive scheme, and they're going to be implementing a lot of different coverages this year that you saw the Rams run this year. So the Rams are running a lot of inverted coverages, let's say they gave a 2 deep look, and they had Jordan Fuller playing in the middle, and they would drop him and drop the corners, so it becomes an inverted cover 3, and it just messes with quarterbacks.
Okay.
Them kind of pick up on some of that stuff this year. They have the personnel for it. They're going to do it. And then offensively, the only question mark is Daniel Jones. So, like, how far can you ride with Daniel Jones?
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of all right. Let's see what Ryan McCarthy can do. He lost his quarterback last year. They were still struggling. They were putting up big numbers and scoring lots of points, but not stopping people on defense. So what are they going to do with the defense? That's the question there. But honestly, I like Washington too, because you moved on from Haskins, and you do have a quarterback question there too. But Riverboat Ron, man, he's a good coach. Well, people don't realize that. And I think this is a team that could go with. They could rotate if they wanted Kyle Allen and Heineke the entire year.
Heineken.
My bad. Yeah. I was like,
I'm not too sure how to say it.
Heineken. That's something like that. You rotate those. You could rotate those 2 guys, and you have enough talent across with the defensive line, and you just have to add a receiver. The offensive line's pretty good. That's a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Matter who quarterback, as long as they're capable of making good decisions 2 out of 3 plays, you're good.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning toward, at this point, Washington. I really am.
Okay. I'm not Washington needs to figure out that quarterback position before I put anything behind them. But I think the Giants is a good pick. I mean, they are on the up and up. They're going to bring back Barkley next year. They got a premium pick this year. Who knows what they'll do with that? As always, this division is going to be up for grabs.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about this division. I mean, mine's the West,
hardest.
But it definitely seems like I didn't realize how much it was rotating until Duran brought it to my attention. And yeah, that's definitely crazy. But yeah, man, if I were to say, gun to my head, who's going to win this next division, I'd still say, Riverboat Ron, because how can you count the guy out? I mean, that guy kicked cancer's ass, and, he's still doing it.
Somehow brought that team to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, brought that team to the playoffs. That defense is just nasty. Yep. And I do like how you complimented the Giants defense as well, because once that was a smart move by bringing over Bradbury. I mean, a dumb move by Carolina, but not to re-sign him. Smart move by Giants to pick him up. So
Carolina lets go of those cornerbacks.
and I'm
They
not
did
too
it
sure
with Norman. They did it with Norman.
Yeah,
Remember that
what's Baker's issue?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know who
Is
has the rights to
did
him.
he get picked up by somebody? Like, I'm not 100% sure of that.
I'm not sure. I don't know who has the rights to him right now
He was a solid
after all
player.
his legal troubles, but
Yeah.
he should be back soon.
Yeah, definitely.
You got it.
For sure.
Didn't he get all that stuff dropped?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got it dropped.
Yeah,
so
it's all dropped. So
I'm
he
just
should
kinda
be back
curious on
somewhere.
where he's gonna be.
Yeah, he should be back. All right, G, that's it for me, man. Anything else?
No, that's it for me as well. If you want to stick with us just for a little bit off the air, that'd be awesome. But other than that, thank you for tuning in again. John, why don't you just list off where we can find you, what projects you're working on. Go and tell the fans where they can find you, all of the work that you have. Go ahead, man.
So I'm the senior NFL draft writer for the Brawl Network. That's thebrawlnetwork.com. And I'm telling you, man, if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on there, this is about to be a really special website. And they've made some very big hires over the last 2-3 months. We've got a couple of really big insiders now. It's a lot of fun to work. And if you're wanting to get in the sports industry, you want to get involved with Brawl Network like right now, because now's the time to get on. Other than that, you can find me. I'm on the Ramblin' Fan. I write for them. On Fansided, I cover the Los Angeles Rams. That helps me pay my bills. So please go over there. That Fansided started paying, and that's great.
Yep.
For a young writer trying to get some experience. And then, last but not least, my Twitter account is. I put a ton of content up there all the time, and I love interacting with you guys. And you guys kind of motivate me to an extent to look at a lot of guys that I don't normally look at or don't have my attention on. So I like the interaction. I like being able to talk about stuff. And so follow me at John D.A. Vogel, tweet at me all the time, whatever. I am usually pretty quick to respond. So, and if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. I'm going to get back to you.
Yeah,
Got it, man.
Definitely. I mean, shout out to the Brawl Network for sure. We had a couple of their guys on. You got Nick, Kelly, Mike, who we just had on for sure. The Brawl Network is doing something special. I follow them, and the content they put out is amazing. I love it, and it's content you put out personally, I love it for sure. Yeah. Having that conversation about a couple corners, you listed it off so many times about Farley. I was like, okay, I like to see that for sure. So again, follow this guy. We'll put all of his information on our description here on this YouTube channel for sure. Look at Duran's background. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube.
See you.
Follow us on Twitter at Why We're Fans. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, go ahead and comment below. Share and subscribe. Again, thank you for coming out. Cheers to everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks. Have a good one.